akobo tichani a no mankasa akwakobo mankasa omo ho aprepro mo ho behwe se nima bi wo se o man sesa na ana sesen NLC esi ekono na nsema de ba no de di mu akote ebi eni edom kuma wo na hyebedwom HS dwumaku bi a otokoko ne dinde Allah's commodities no omudwuma de ne mun na ho papa sanse enoma ye oman yi dia na nkwankra fa na odidi ne dwuma eye produce buying company cocoa board enoma no mudidi omudwuma
Oswafo a wo hye potem ensem so e de atodwa say aban be de obetimi bia ama honidi ensem SCP e won kran ha
yeda ni eche wutu senya west so amra hye bedwani ogina ho e de ma omoma me gezela tete agbetu iche se ensem bi esi ebra school for ekwakoye akansi hu ensem no de akoso no entwa yi no sese police for nhwem na no kredam bia no omfa metodwa
Ghana Prison Service any maslock aka bomu emma eye inmates nsano dwuma papa amomaye
Wedding sembling commotion American Boston near the Bremon anime, yeah, didn't say, but we did at the enim adomine.
Mame ya obelku amponsa.
Here answer one air call my shibi German and saying Coco who some day a yen and himself say, a buying Coco so there a wholesome aqua de jar, my man titu cocoa for a bonus so my shibija, no so dom kumana say a bino. Any or my ma umuye kokona ndi ye neno eno matwa so hwehwe nsimu akwakopie mu se adwuma ko bia ne din edi Atlas commodities so muto kokona no mo kire se dwumadie bi wo ha mu dia enya ade etwaye mu se titiru mfimfim mantem pie mantem ena fra mantem dwumadie mu di ni se kane anase adwumaku a na nka otokoko magana pa PBC o madan o manyoma ne ade eno mu di dwum kire se enema we entwaye mpanifo hwere mu hwehwem na se obi aye mfumso a yemfa asotwe emano
o hwe kokobor ne omudwumadi omudia eya kwa se PBC de omo ya gu no PBC for ye ma omo sika ni bi PBC na no ne aban dwuma eku o se nke di sika ne ma omo no moto koko no mo nya mfaso no de bo aman no no mo timitua eye PBC for ka no omo ni se sika no yemfa se sika ne ma wo mo na mom no opanyi bi a wo kokobor our deputy CEO in charge of finance and administration and the company your friend Atlas Commodities Limited or no near this car mano cocoa board this car mano someone found to cocoa the private a year PBC for sales cano or no to cocoa no or no so any warehouses no or the license are also there or did you my dear no I was district Amaboni di Kajabini Jasican now course our district no or you so a year abandoned warehouses PBC warehouses also called the PBC for the Jumano. I don't know what you do. And I was saying, for so on my home. And this car was sent Carbano to me, and ya, a free year, the industry as far as Coco ya concern. Sasi Canina, Koguni Pabacubotum, Sandy Pabacone, Mr. Atoboatin, on an deputy CEO, a year Coco board. And as some Raminoka say, PBC for Nubo for ye, and Untino, Omoko, a year Kajabi police station. I could make a police report. So police report no. And then I saka any who say PBC for one person much say. Omo de omo to cocoa bi antie then na cocoa be gu warehouse. Cocoa na gu warehouse no. Ceiling say wo hu na ye Atlas Commodities Limited. Me de ehun foni ni bi e de akyeremo. And the CC am no ka say no. Eya kwa say sa panyin no. Or a situation be more a constitution a no conflict of interest. Article 284 of the 1992 Constitution. Or say we a public officer. Any kwansa would do who could jina bia, say jina bia no. Obi on nan kwa ho crown po who sad no because adie we die. Enya de papa. Any kwansa ye so won sase wadi boni bi ansa. There be constitution na kasa. Enti e de na obi a o company ni odia. Na nso aban ni company wo ho which is the PBC. Oh, yeah, in charge of finance and administration. One first can come up PBC for Fanya Juma. PBC for the tools of trade war, warehouses, workers, on the war. As you see, first can from a PBC. And this cano be Brenadiama Atlas Commodities. And yet then, I want Sebi, who need the structure, who need the tools of trade, who need the warehouses, who need the license to operate in some of these districts in Po. Now, so one I feel Uto Koko as Dom Kuma war parliament. Yes, sir. Say OSP, and she just asked him, my.
Oswafo a wo hye potem ensem so Yewra Ahmed Ibrahim ena wo de ensem atudwa se one aban ede o makoma so pa so obeboa ama o man Ghana hunidi ensem etimi SCP na wo kire mu se enkanka ene tema Metropolitan Assembly so mama mani amera enche ebema ahunidi ensem etimi aha o man Ghana ene enkranmantem kakra enti wo ye hyehye papa ede agu akwan mu aboa
we are here simply because of the information that we were given at the ministry, that the only landfill site in the Accra, eastern part of Accra, will be almost exhausted in about a month's time. And that if care or critical steps are not taken, after 1 month, the whole of the eastern part of Greater Accra, all the 10 metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies are not going to get anywhere to dump their hospital, domestic, and industrial waste. So we chose it wise to come today with the city authorities and the ministry leadership to come and interact with the staff and the contractor here, whether what we were being told is true or not. As we have come, the contractor, the mayor, and the MCE have all told me that in fact they have only 1 month, and even we are in the dry season. So if in a month's time the whole of Accra waste are not going to get anywhere to dump their waste, it's going to be a serious problem. So yes, it is true, we are sitting on sanitation time bomb, and we are going to be very proactive in this direction. We are going to make sure that at least both the private sector and the public are up and doing.
I think it's important to note that all through the history of the landfill sites and all of that, at least by 2019, it became an emergency site, not a permanent site. But nothing has been done until your proactive engagement of this issue. And I must say it's timely. We're doing all of this in anticipation of a disaster, where you're not waiting until it actually happens before you visit us. So that is a sign that I think that we cannot afford to overlook. So once again, I want to thank you, and we know that with your direction and your oversight, this issue will be resolved for all of us.
So this whole enclave, which has about 7 MMAs, Ladma, Lekma, TMA, Pung, Sayosdoku, Ashaman, all dump at this site, because when you look around, there's no appropriate final disposal site in the vicinity or in the enclave. And so we have to host our sister MAs in this site for this period. Unfortunately, where we have gotten to is such that the design airspace of 16 meters has been exhausted. We are now getting to 24 and over, and frequent challenges has been the road to the top being irregular, and sometimes some of the cars having challenges, vehicles having challenges, and also leachate overflows. We are proposing that, if possible, some MAs could find other sites to go to dump, and it could be left with few, like 3, TMA possibly, Pong, and Ashaman. This is our immediate proposal, whilst we immediately look at an appropriate final disposal for this whole enclave, because critically, this site is serving a huge purpose. Although area constrained, it is the only site available from Ningo to TMA, to Lekma.
Yet once on so call 15 months when Kupimu to Senior West. Now I'm not sure general Edimo Moye Honorable Gazela Tete Agbotu and in summer Oka and say and some years school for me Nubin Terminal 7 and 3 years Sodo Business School NFA or Bratcher Senior High Technical School and say Omuko di bobo and say bo who I can see a school for a good day I can see omo esi no chese na no yawadano deep see no na school for me nsa epra na ba ko de o chese be bi odano enya de eye papa kra ne no na mami Agbotu e chese ebeya nka we de entra school penny form che Ghana Education Service na police form hunyuma hwehwem na de enye no omo fanto yesanse de ye ya obida ba bia nei onne yi obetun ahwe ne nkwa no entwe yesanse yekusi akan a enye wo se DP mu enonie.
Last year something happened. This rivalry sometimes tends to happen between schools, but I think it was managed. But this year, it seems from what they themselves picked up, with their threats and all that, so they still went for the sports all right. But this is what happens, what we saw, which was very despicable, and I condemn it in no uncertain terms. Not because the children are from a secondary school in my village or in my district, but because generally it is not the right thing to do. And so for young people at the same age, It was just by grace that the video that we saw, that the giant was standing by a gate and the stone that was thrown at him, it didn't hit him. He would have just smashed his eye or something like that. And just imagine what would have happened to him. Parents bring their children to boarding school for molding, for them to be in the environment, to get to know their peers and all other benefits that boarding schools give. And this is not what we all expected. So I've spoken to the Director General of Ghana Education Service, and he has requested the heads of both schools, the district directors of education of both districts and the regional education director to actually come to Accra for such a meeting. And for that, he would also make the trip to the schools himself and see. But for initially, he wants to talk to them, and then we take it from there.
Ghana Prison Service any maslock aka bomu e de hye papa e boa ama wo mo da afiase me kire wo mo prison wo mo aboa ama sede be ye wo bepie no na wo mo e wo ensa no juma de ase e na Director General owo eye Ghana Prison Service ye ma me patients ba for boni e de ensam we etudwa
sane be na ye nuanom ye busuafo e wo enaduafie no enkonko ba se wo mu da naduafie na wo nso bi amamfa so ekoba ne se bi yi nipa ne pia na brabo ne besan akosen biem wanwe ya no asan akwakoto amenakoro no mu a wo firi mu ekopie mu naduafie wonom na wasan pompo akwakoye no de eburo so esene sa enti wo kire mu a prison service and maslog wo mo identity mapa eko ede ama enaduafiefo no se ne be ya wo mehunu kwa mefa so a wo mo ebe hyehyɛ abobo yɛ bie na ne nyina so atimi aboa yɛ papa ɛho ensem maami patients bafo Bonnie Esquire, Director General Ghana Prison Service and Penifon Kaye ekasa fa ho.
As we stand here, the ultimate aim is to get the master trainers, train our inmates who will be participating fully in the assembling of the tricycles and the motorbikes across the country. Half the time, we tend to forget that being in prison may be something that can be so close to you, and therefore we must be careful how we treat the people behind bars. It is going to be an opportunity for them to learn the skill and also on release get the employment that they need to be making a livelihood behind the bars.
Yenuanoma omo behind bars no omo no bebre na wo hokra na omo nso enwe boni bi no ma ye na emom obi wo ho ye ntwato so obi wo ho bibi kakra bi oyeye na ama na kwa akopie ho enti ehun se yenuanom na omo wo honom no se empo yetimi ye bibi de boa wo omo na obepie aba na sika kakra bi da ho obetimi de ahya abrabo na ase foforo a ya ade a ebeboa
bebre ba because they say yenu ba bi akra 2,000 plus biade yediba across all the region. Tis the muhuni hey ye just around be 200 to 500 as a dudrona akra ne wechri. And I non so ya few inqua. I feel a bibe samba. I fear better to be samba. Na sebe a bit me edi a criti numa. Ama ankra any mebuna in Jumae, no musa comano.
Adeshima ma yentwa ye ho enje aboafo nkrato ye ba ye de nkomotwetwe ebeso mu